This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is, frankly, somebody that doesn't need much of an introduction, Mr. Rob McEwen. Rob, how are you, sir?
Great, Geraldo. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time.
Happy to.
So listen, I watched an interview of yours earlier talking about $5,000 gold in the mid to long term. I read an interview earlier in the year where you talked about $1,700 gold by the end of the year. Do you still believe we hit that number?
We've got a good chance of hitting it this year.
Excellent.
And the bigger numbers later. I mean, we went from 71 to 2000, or 71 to 80, it ran 20x, from 40 to 800.
Right.
Then it dropped to 250. Then it went to 1900. That's 7x.
Right.
And the low we've had recently was 1050 in 2015. You apply that, you could get a $8,000 to $21,000 number.
Interesting. Let me ask you this. You've seen multiple cycles, obviously,
Yes.
right? The bottoming out process and the sideways pattern in gold seem longer this time around.
We built a very large base.
That was my question. So
Yes.
do you think the upside will be proportionate to the upside?
Well, since gold was freed by President Nixon in 1971, all we've seen is higher lows.
Correct.
So I think it's just going to keep going. It's not going to go in a straight line to those numbers we talked about,
Right.
but it's going to correct, but each time it's higher. You look at all the debt that's been created, and particularly you've got $17 trillion of government debt that has a negative coupon on it.
Correct.
You've got the money expansion, you've got stock markets that seem to be reaching a crest and might be coming back at us a bit, and concerns about geopolitical issues.
Well, you answered my next question, which
Did I?
was,
Oh, that was
what
easy.
do you think are the main drivers? So now my next question is, everybody asks you about gold. What do you think about silver by year end?
With gold running, silver is going to follow, and the exchange ratio, which is a little better than 80 to 1 right now,
Sure.
is going to start compressing. It's been down to 30 to 1.
Sure.
So I would expect silver to keep running, and we saw that in the last few weeks, that
Yeah.
it ran very quickly, added $3 of basically 20%, just almost overnight.
Sure. Sure.
And there are not a lot of pure silver producers out there.
There's not. It's a tough nut to crack for sure. Let's talk McEwen mining.
Right.
Very aggressive exploration.
Yes.
Assets in multiple jurisdictions, Argentina, Mexico, Nevada. What is it like working specifically right now in Argentina and Mexico? Because they've been in the news recently.
Mexico answer first, it's easier.
Sure.
They've increased the taxes. They are supportive of mining, but every once in a while they make newscasts that sound like they aren't.
Sure.
There's a lot of mining going on in Mexico, and it has a long history of mining. So I think it's going to keep going. You might see a little bit more taxation, but I think they'll try to put more money in the local communities. Most of it was going to Mexico City,
Correct.
where it shouldn't have been going.
Correct. And in that scenario, which I agree with you 100%, that's what I'm hearing, it's actually a good thing that they're doing.
Yes.
Fantastic. Argentina.
Argentina, they had their election primaries.
Yes, they did.
And it went in a different direction than most people are expecting.
Absolutely.
And it looks like we're going to have Cristina Kirchner and Fernandez in.
Mm-hmm.
They are running out of foreign reserves. Inflation's running 40 to 50%. They need foreign capital. I would expect they're going to try to accommodate and make deals with foreign investors to come in. And so they're going to change some of the rules, I would expect.
Do you think what just happened in Argentina with its stock market is a peek into the future with a lot of other countries?
Could well be. Particularly with populist governments,
Right.
where they're not paying attention to the impact of when they print too much money or they borrow too much money. Yes.
Okay. McEwen Mining, that brings me there.
Right.
I know that you have very aggressive exploration goals for your multiple assets. Can you speak to those a bit?
Well, the budget over the last 2 years, just spending on our Black Fox property in Timmins, $36 million. We found a lot of high grade in Timmins, and it's looking like there's a reasonable probability that it could extend to depth, and the mines that we have there are shallow. And so they're 300 and 800 meters down,
Sure.
when the average is 1.5 kilometers to 2 kilometers.
Right.
One of our deep holes recently returned 18 grams over 11 meters, and we went, yeah,
Right.
this is good.
Right.
And we're seeing more a lot at the Black Fox mine on the west side. We'll probably slow down the west side, or the Black Fox.
Right.
And we have 3 satellites that we can get future production from. So one day I think that complex will be producing about 3 times what it's been producing in the past, and that'd be 150,000 ounces a year.
Okay, so bright future there.
Yes.
17 million in exploration expenditures. Is that still the plan?
This year.
This year. Excellent. Fantastic. Lastly, I got to touch on all the philanthropic work that you do, which I think is outstanding. Let me ask you this. What inspires that?
Mother Nature. She's been very kind to us, and that there's a lot of needs in the world, and the areas that my wife and I particularly focused on was medical. We think that there's a crisis coming, and regenerative medicine, stem cell research. We started funding that in 2003 when most people couldn't say stem cell without getting upset.
Correct.
But that offers the promise of profoundly changing the delivery of healthcare, improving it. And we thought, well, it's far better to do that than sit on a pile of money if we can help many others. And so we're into healthcare, we're into education, leadership programs. There's a school of architecture that French, English, First Nation advisors in it.
Incredible work.
So it's fascinating, but I think it's a worthy. And the mining industry, there are all sorts of models of people in the mining industry who have contributed in a very large way to the betterment of society.
Agreed.
So I'm just following some people that have been great examples for me.
Wonderful. You mentioned pile of money, so I have to ask. Great Bear Resources. Brings a smile.
It's been a great investment. I and McEwen Mining bought a position there. I think we became their largest shareholder back last August at $1.45.
Correct.
It was in Red Lake where I built Gold Corp. It was pulling grades that looked similar to what we were getting. It had a geological formation that looked interesting.
That had to take you back to the Gold Corp days.
Yes, and I thought, well, its market cap is low, and price wasn't bad. They made me pay more than what it had been trading at a week or two before, but
It's worked out so far.
yeah, it's traded up over $8, and I think it's got more room to go.
Excellent. Mr. McEwen, a pleasure.
Geraldo,
Thank you.